Hey, what's going on, everybody? Here it is Admin Magic here with the Nerds of Combat, and today is episode 2 of Summon the Admin series. And today we are going to be doing Metal Gear Solid. We're going to be talking about the whole. We're going to condense it, of course, as much as we can. But we're going to be talking about Metal Gear, something that not a lot of people really talk about. And today with me, I have Admin Thor, and I have Admin Negro Lantern. And let's just go ahead and get started off. As far as Metal Gear Solid, how do you feel about the series as a whole, and how did it impact you? Starting with Admin Thor.
I think it impacted me pretty well, and like when it came to like thought processes, when it came to like who's it like how do you put it? Usually when you play like games like Metal Gear and stuff, it's kind of like, oh, I'm like the good guy. I'm like this character that's just, this super soldier that's like doing the right thing because, the government told me to. And then like you're playing for the games, and you soon realize like you really shouldn't be doing half the shit you're doing. um like you go from like, oh yeah, I'm this cool guy to like, wow, I'm really committing war crimes right now. Like because everyone goes to like, what is it? Everyone like loves talking about Big Boss, right? And then like the more they developed him as a character from like, Metal Gear Solid 3 onwards, it was just like, wow, he went from being a cool guy to literally wanting to commit like all the war crimes to continue war. And I think like that idea is pretty cool. It's just like, oh, I really like this character, and I'm being like, well, just because I like him doesn't mean I should support him in any way.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then another big thing that was great about Metal Gear is, so like I said, with Big Boss and stuff, and like how his perception of what was he needs to create an eternal warfare all around the world, so like soldiers had meaning. His clone, Solid Snake, that had all the recessive genes of him and stuff, like is meant to be like the failure clone, went above and beyond him, and like the whole thought process of Hideo Kojima was, your genes don't define you; it's your actions, which is why Solid Snake ends up becoming the far better character and a good character overall, from like the standpoint of, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't commit mass war for like to make to make people feel included. And then of course like that was like more harbinged in with what do you call it, Metal Gear Rising and Phantom Pain and stuff. Like these are all cool characters and stuff, but like at the same time, just because I'm enjoying playing them doesn't mean I should support some of the stuff they're doing. And they really want to hit home. It's just like, yeah, they're cool, but also they're not cool,
I got you. What about you, Negro Lantern?
I want to point out something Thor just said. It was only like, I think when me and you, Thor, we were having a discussion about like riding one day.
Yeah.
No. It wasn't riding. It was about Snake and the whole feat from the PSP or whatever. That night when we were talking about, later on that night, I was delving into like more content again. Excuse me, I'm gonna try to keep this really brief. I was delving into more content, and I was like, yeah, man, my man was really tripping on this Snake feat. And then I thought about it. I was like, what is Snake's craziest feats? And you know what I think I came to the conclusion. Well, I know I came to the conclusion of, that's pretty nuts. Snake was never sanctioned for anything.
Yeah. No,
that is an incredible feat. You never had the right to be anywhere, yet you kept blowing up the countries everywhere you went, just destroying the landscape. Yeah, but you weren't supposed to be there.
See, to be fair, that's because you're doing better stuff in the end of the day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, pushing all the Africans into one corner of the map. Anyway, no. For me, it started with Sons of Liberty. Of course, when I was younger, I knew about the VR or whatever. But it didn't like click in any kind of meaningful way. So when the PlayStation 2s came out and I got mine, the first game I had on the PlayStation 2 was Sons of Liberty. And I think SmackDown, but I didn't play SmackDown first. I immediately went in for Sons of Liberty. And now, mind you, this is before I even played Devil May Cry. So this was a pretty big deal for me. And from the moment you see Snake in the rain, it was something special about that day. Like the aesthetics in my room was the perfect lighting. I was sitting like right up on my screen. That dialogue, the sound from the rain, the visuals at that time looked like the PS5s then. You know what I mean? Like eyes hadn't adjusted beyond that yet. So it was crazy. It was like everything wasn't 8 pixels, 16 bits and all that. It was incredible. It more than 14 muscles in the character. It was incredible when he does the jump. When he did the jump in that moment, I can still remember emotionally how I felt.
Well,
in that moment when he does the jump.
Are you talking about when he breaks the handcuffs and jumps after Metal Gear?
No. At the beginning of the game. Yeah.
Oh, right.
In the poncho. Yeah, when he does the jump and leaves the poncho behind, in that moment, I knew I had my hands on Jason Bourne. It was over. It was over, bro. It was over. I fell in love immediately. You don't even want to talk about how much I played just that intro on purpose over and over again just to keep knocking dudes off the boat. It was such an incredible thing. Graphically, it was incredible. The controls, it was incredible. Just the dialogues, the realism, the suspense of being in a stealth game like that. Like, there was nothing like it. It was incredible. It was the lighting. Oh my God, it was incredible. Looking back now, it's like, but then it was something never experienced before, and I immediately fell in love. So, of course, going forward from that very long-winded explanation or intro, going forward from there, of course, the preceding games were just incredible. Oh my God, when we got the PS3, and then it literally opened up. The promotional game of the PS3 was Metal Gear, Guns of the Patriots. Like, oh my God. One of the greatest multiplayers, period. One of the greatest multiplayers, period, especially in the beginning stages. That was the way to do it. Absolutely adored that game. For my first time experiences playing online with people. It wasn't the first thing I ever played online with people that was actually Monster Hunter, but it was it was the thing that was set in stone. Now multiplayer online is a thing for sure for everybody. And so that game with the incredible story, with the incredible game modes, it could do no wrong. And then you mean to tell me my favorite game company, Platinum Games, which I absolutely loved, Vanquish, right? Of course, the creator came from Devil May Cry, the original first game, and then here they are, the guys that do combat like nobody else, doing the Metal Gear Rising game. After I just seen Raiden in that cyborg form,
yeah,
it was incredible, man. The series has been great. I mean, of course, that pushed me to play like the PSP versions. Of course, never did I fall as in love with Metal Gear 5 as I did with the other games. I mean, same thing for the PSP games. They were really interesting because they introduced mechanics that would have been great for the other games, like the whole balloon thing was incredible. Yeah. But when 5 came out, it was too overwhelming. Again, it was for the next generation of console. It pushed the limits on like what as a gamer I thought was even possible. Yeah, and it was like it was so overwhelming that I couldn't enjoy it. And so to this day, I've never firsthand beat 5, and that's because I chose not to go back. It was like, I'm just gonna watch these playthroughs so I can keep up with my story. Because I had to know how the story ended. I actually didn't like the way that 5 ended, but I understood that very in a very Kojima fashion, like that very poetic, subtle goodbye message. It was incredible. Kiefer Sutherland, I hope I said his name correctly, was an epic choice. I wasn't as mad as other people were about the David Hayter thing, but
it makes sense.
Yeah. And for me, one of my favorite movies of all time is Dark City. Probably something a lot of people aren't familiar with, but
the one with like,
so with Keith, with Mr. Sutherland as the doctor, I love that, bro. So his voice has always been like iconic to me. So to have his voice in that game was really the number one thing for me. Nothing else, bro. None of the cool new mechanics, none of the multiplayer stuff. None of that. It was just that voice actor, and it was like that was an amazing choice. Again, in Kojima fashion, and of course, maybe not too much relevant to close here. Maybe not too much relevant, but I think Death Stranding is a great. I think what happened to Kojima was messed up. I don't think he should have been treated that way. But nonetheless, Death Stranding needed to happen. It was destined to happen, especially if you're someone who got your hands on it. It's an incredible testament to just how incredible of a series Metal Gear was. So that's just where I'm gonna leave it.
Got you. Now, the funny thing with me is that I'm gonna let these two roam free when it comes to it. I am not this. Some of the admin series will sometimes just be like this, where I just let them roam free and do their thing. I played The Rival. I played Splinter Cell. So that was my thing. I didn't cross over and go back until Sons of the Patriots. And then of course watching all the playthroughs and things of that nature. My favorite game that I saw and played myself, of course, is the popular Snake Eater. Especially with the sniper mission at the end.
Notice I skipped over Snake Eater. I was not a fan.
We'll get to the controversy in that in a second. But yeah, no, I played The Rival. And then I forget what game it was. I know me and you, Thor, talked about it a lot. When Sam Fisher gave the nod to
no, that was me and you. That was me and you, and that was that was Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yeah. And Ghost Recon Wildlands, when Sam Fisher when they acknowledged the other side. And that made me feel some type of way a little bit because of what happened to Kojima. And it really almost ended, or it felt like an end to a very great character. No matter what side of whatever gaming thing that you're on, Solid Snake, Sam Fisher, Agent 47, like the assassins from Assassin's Creed, Dante, Kratos, Halo, like these characters in the early 2000s shaped gaming.
The Gears people, don't forget to mention them because they'll be mad.
The
Gears people.
Gears
Gears of War. Can't forget Gears. But yeah, no, these games shaped a generation and shaped gaming. If these games didn't blow up, I think gaming would have died after the Dreamcast died.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think especially with Metal Gear and stuff, the amount of stuff that they added into push mechanics in games was insane. Because see, out of all the games you listed there, Metal Gear is the only one I felt like I was a proper super soldier. Because let's say in Halo, for example, right? Yeah, you're a super soldier, right? But at the end of the day, it's an FPS. With Metal Gear, I'm literally doing crazy shit and QTEs and stuff and all these crazy ass shit, and just the stuff that you see story wise comparatively is insane. Obviously in Halo specifically, you do crazy stuff in that in the cutscenes, but in Metal Gear, you're an active part before the cutscene proper, instead of just shooting 5 guys and then cutscene.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, I think that was the thing with Metal Gear. I think the stealth games overall set the standard of, not only am I doing this in the cutscene, but I'm actually able to perform this shit outside the cutscenes.
Yeah.
But go ahead and continue.
Yeah. There's also because they also, I think Metal Gear did it really well in Rising, where it was what do you call it? Having a cutscene mixed into your gameplay. See the introduction to Metal Gear Rising, where basically half the Metal Gear Ray fight is practically a cutscene with QTEs, but at the same time you were doing all this crazy shit prior to it. It felt like, wow, I'm doing this proper. It isn't like, the game's like, this isn't like the game's running on for me. It's just like, no, I'm doing this. But no, like Hideo Kojima with the Metal Gear series really pushed boundaries with like all the mechanics you could do. Like Joey said with what do you call it, with the Fultons and stuff and Phantom Pain, and just like everything in Phantom Pain, to be honest, that he introduced.
I haven't like Phantom Pain, like from the gameplays that I have, the gameplays and the walkthroughs, like the 100% complete walkthroughs that I've seen of Phantom Pain, it literally takes you at a minimum 70 to 80 hours through everything.
Yeah,
all the walking, and oh my god.
And it is so good. I don't even know. I don't know
think
what
the
it
stealth
is.
was really hardcore in Phantom and Phantom Pain.
Yeah, it really was. Like, because like with the stealth and Phantom Pain, I think like it was one of the only few games that I can think of where it's just like, well, you can study the weather and stuff of like, Afghanistan and Africa and stuff. Oh, there's going to be a sandstorm coming in, therefore I'm going to infiltrate the base when the sandstorm is actively coming in, and it's affecting my coverage and stuff. I can't think of any other games out at the time that was having like their own weather system going on and on that you can actively partake in it. I think like Ghost Recon did it afterwards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they
like,
did something similar afterwards.
Yeah, like it was just so much good mechanics coming from the Metal Gear series that you can see like actively in other games beyond that. Like like third person stealth like took so much credit from Splinter Cell and Metal Gear.
And you have to like, you have to be astonished how much an Odyssey, that old sci-fi movie, like how much that movie has inspired other people who have inspired other people, because no matter where they go in their work, especially with Kojima, it's always Odyssey is the core of everything. Odyssey. I would have never been able to tell that from his work had he not pointed that out.
Yeah.
All right. So now I get to the fun part. Your favorite game and your least favorite game, or a game that you hated in the series. So we're gonna start with your favorite. So what is your favorite and why? And once again, I'm out of it. So starting with Admin Thor.
My favorite game in the series was Metal Gear Solid 4, because I just thought like, because that was like outside Rising, that was like the pinnacle of what do you call it, like the series finale. Like Rising was like taking the series to the next step, but like from like the main story from like all like 7 games, like including Metal Gear Solid 5, like 4 was like the end all be all from what everything you played through, and it was just an amazing story and the gameplay was great. And I just loved seeing old Solid Snake beat the shit out of people, even though he was having a heart attack every 5 fucking seconds when you're punching somebody. The entire like end fight scene against Liquid, where you're just after walking through a human microwave and you're fighting them on top of a battleship that's about to launch nukes and stuff, crazy. But with my least favorite game, it's probably everyone's fan favorite, Snake Eater. I really do not like Big Boss as a character to like even care about how he turned into Big Boss whatsoever. Like everyone goes on about Snake Eaters, like I honestly couldn't give a fuck.
I think like the only fruitful thing out of there was the Ocelot stuff.
Yeah, like everyone.
I don't really have nothing to say. You might as well keep going. Everything you're saying, I completely agree with.
Yeah, like I think the only thing from Snake Eater that I enjoyed was like everyone memeing that Ocelot revolver scene where he's like taking the guns out and putting them back in as he's talking shit to you. Like you can't shoot him in the middle of this conversation. Like he's like, and it's just like, all right, bang. Like
Ocelots are proud creatures. They prefer to hunt alone. 12 shots.
I know, like, there's so much shit going on in Metal Gear Solid 3, and it was just like, yeah, it's cool, but like, what was it? I think the two cool mechanics Metal Gear Solid 3 did in terms of
Eating
like,
the animals.
no, not eating animals. It was the two boss fights. It was when you go up against the end, and you can either shoot them right at the start and completely avoid the sniper fight. You can just do the sniper fight, or you can, everyone goes on it, but you can just skip your calendar 2 weeks and then he dies of a heart attack.
I remember
Or-
that. That was, and sorry to cut you off. That was the
Sorry.
first time that I like when you go back and you look at cheat sheets and you look at stuff and you're like, wait, you could have actually did that? What the hell?
Yeah,
That was the
like
first
you
time that
read
I've heard in a game where it's just like you could skip a whole fight by actually skipping on your calendar.
I wish I could say that was actually where that came from, but there was stuff like that way back in Shenmue.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Shenmue's whole thing was like, be in the right place at the right time. You'll always be in an event.
Yeah,
Don't be in the
Shenmue
right
was
place at the right
crazy.
time. Yeah, yeah, that was an incredible mechanic for what I consider the original Grand Theft Auto 3.
Got you.
And then the second boss fight that introduced a shit ton of crazy stuff was the Sorrow fight, because that boss fight is all based on how many people you've killed up until this point, because it's meant to be like soldiers with PTSD and like you're fighting against like, you know, the people you've killed. If you hadn't killed basically anyone up to that point and just stealthed it or knocked them out or whatever, that boss fight was a cakewalk, because, you know, it's only the one cunt. But if you were just like, oh yeah, I'm a super soldier, guns blazing, you have to fight so many people off, because it's just like the consequences of your actions, because it wanted you to feel like, yeah, these are still people that you just brutally murdered. I can't think of like any other big gimmicky fights outside them two from Metal Gear Solid 3. But no, yeah, it's just so good. Like with them two, but like Metal Gear Solid 3 as a whole is just.
Yeah. So I know we're gonna get a whole lot of hate. A whole lot of hate.
Yeah.
Anything that you do want to add, Negro Lantern?
No, he pretty much said it all for sure. I mean, 2 was my gateway, and I adored 2, but 4 was the best in the series. It was the best, and not big. Look, 5 clearly beat it mechanically, right?
Yeah.
It beat everything mechanically, but 4 had such an incredible array of utility, and every bit of that story was interesting. Every chapter, the way it unfolded was like, I'm so grateful I'm controlling the character in the movie, because that's what Metal Gear is. You know, it's like, hey, this is the thing that sets this apart, is that I'm in control of the movie, because that's what you're doing. You're simply controlling the mechanics from time to time as the movie plays. And
I am Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. That's basically like the whole
right,
movie.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, this time I get to run across the bushes. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing, bro. It's like you know, I get to choose when Rambo pops off the floor. You know, like it's amazing that way. And in 4, just, I mean, like, I can't think of a person who legitimately knows this source material, right, and would be like, I didn't like the girls. Or even if you didn't even go into the actual game, just like the way he handled the loading screens with the commercials was absolutely incredible. He brought the Tybo guy in. Come on.
Yeah.
Like that those commercials were nuts. The octopus commercial, the wolf commercial for the girl, like, those metaphors were incredible. And then to actually see them when they're revealed throughout the story, oh man, I can't even tell you how frustrating the wolf fight was. You know what I mean? So yeah, 4 wins, man. Four wins. Everything Thor said echoes my exact feelings.
Okay, and I'm guessing Snake Eater is also your worst.
Again, everything Thor said, everything outside of Metal Gear Rising is exactly how I feel. 4 takes the cake. 5 mechanically the best. 3 didn't even care for it. The only thing juicy was the Ocelot material. the PSP games were quite enjoyable, but they were never like the main console games.
And the normal Metal Gear games, not the Metal Gear Solid games, like the two ones that like you go up against Venom Snake as when you're Solid Snake, like they're like timepieces because like they're like top down like 8-bit games. They're still like enjoyable for like their time period.
The other day Magic asked, he was like, "What's your favorite video game quote?" Or I think it was you, might have been you.
It was me.
Yeah. Like I'm so glad I corrected myself, but like. The other day when that happened, I answered wrong. It's actually from Metal Gear 2 when Ocelot reveals himself and he does the Sergey.
I regret to inform you that I have no intention of selling Metal Gear. As I said, I came to take it back. Yes, returned to the Patriots.
The Lale Lule Lo. How's that possible?
Ocelot, have you sold us out?
I was never in your employ, Golukovich.
Are you still in league with Solidus?
No hard feelings, Colonel. Mother Russia can rot for all I care.
Since when, Ocelot? When did you turn?
I'm glad you noticed, comrade. I abandoned her during the Cold War.
Ah!
Metal Gear only has room for one! Golukovich, you and your daughter will die here.
Damn you!
Sergey, looks like you were long overdue for retirement.
Traitorous dog!
Like, I love that whole moment. Everything about that was incredible. Everything about that was incredible. Just so take that whole moment. I love what I mentioned from Devil May Cry. That is literally my favorite Devil May Cry scene, the whole Shakespeare play thing. But no, of all time, it has to be when Ocelot steals Metal Gear Ray. The one, Sergey. I love that. I love that.
The Metal Gear series has so many good like speeches, especially when it's in like their set pieces. Rising was like not the worst for it. By worst, I mean like there were so many to choose from. Like it was such an abundance of like instances. There's like this is a good set piece, and then there's like some crazy speech. Yeah.
See, but that's what makes Metal. I mean, I don't, not to jump the gun here, but like that's what makes Metal Gear an incredible series, because it takes the conspiracy stuff, and it puts it into a diagram where it's like, okay, it's all crazy until you look at it this way. And it's so good, man. The way it plays out. I mean, it's almost scary because Sons of Liberty is somewhat kind of what we just literally have realized we're living through right now in the technological social media age. So yeah, it's an incredible spin on conspiracies. I love it.
Got you. Favorite and worst characters. Which character that you like the most and which one that you hated? Let's go.
I can answer this one because this was fast for me. Psycho. Didn't care for Psycho.
Psycho Mantis?
Yep, didn't care for him.
Why?
Didn't, so like the other characters in Metal Gear, Psycho didn't have that kind of like deep dark pizzazz at all. Which is why I thought the Octopus was way better.
Okay. And your favorite?
Ooh, you know what? If it's not Vamp, let me be clear. It's not Vamp. I'd have to say. Fortune. Fortune may be my favorite.
Okay. Why?
Oh man, well, I mean, other than Black Amazon, when she saves everybody, you know, when Ocelot's giving that speech, like Thor said, like those great speeches, when Ocelot is giving that speech, and he's like, you know, he's like, oh no, we gave you the technology to do this thing, and then she gets back up, she's like, no son, that's all me. Like I love that turn of events, man. I just heard from her character design to her weapon, the rail gun, which to this day I still think is one of the coolest gun designs ever. To that moment, you know, it really hurts that her character never returned. And you know, anything surface level, I could just say Raiden, right? I could just say Raiden, Metal Gear Rising, obviously, but even then, like the little bit of time that we had with Fortune was really deep. You know, it's rare that you get a character for like a very short time and you learn so much about them that it's fulfilling.
And we'll get to the future in just a second. Jordan, what about you? Or Admin Thor, I should say. I know your real name, Jordan, but whatever.
What do you call it? Well, I mean, like as Joey was talking about, like, you know, base level stuff, like I'm a huge Solid Snake fan. Like, you know, he's in my top 5, all that jazz. So like I think that goes without saying. But if I had to choose somebody else, I think it would be what's his name now? I think his name is Johnny from Metal Gear Solid 4, which is the guy that didn't have nano machines at all, and like they sort of like, you know, hinted at that the entire way through because all he did was shit and vomit himself up until the end bit, where he's the only one capable of fighting because he didn't have nano machines in him. And it turns out he was like this super secret badass spy. He was pretty cool outside Solid Snake. And then my least favorite character was the main villain from Metal Gear Solid 2, which was one of the Snake clones that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head.
Oh, you're talking about Solidus?
Solidus, yeah. I did not care for Solidus, bro. He was just
that
like,
suit is crazy. Yeah,
he was just
that suit is so dope.
He's just like, oh yeah, big boss clone. Didn't have any of the genetics outside of being trained by the CIA. And then he got the suit, which was like putting him on the tiers of like the other clones. But besides from that, it's just like, bro, you needed a suit to catch up on the rest of them. Like, but yeah, no, them two probably.
Okay, so we got favorite game, least favorite game, favorite character, least favorite character. How did Metal Gear Solid? How do you feel about Metal Gear Solid? How did it influence you? Things of that nature. Now, how would you? Because the Phantom Pain is, of course, Kojima's goodbye, and feels like pretty much a goodbye to Solid Snake as the character. Once again, with Into the Wildlands, you know, giving that salute from Sam Fisher since he's the last one left. And you know, because Agent 47's thing is done pretty much now as well too. I'm sure they'll be making more games of it, but pretty much since the new Hitman came out, his story is officially done, and he's just doing stuff now. So, how would you move if you would you actually, yeah, before we get into the future, would you bring back Metal Gear?
No. No, because Death Stranding was needed. I would rather the continuation of Death Stranding than Metal Gear. See, the problem with Metal Gear is, like, as we've expressed, there's a lot to love, and you're never going to actually get what you want out the series because of that. And so it's safe to just say that series ran its course. What Kojima has done with Death Stranding is so beyond. Man, I can't even tell you like how emotionally hyped I was once I finished that game, and every metaphor in the game hit me like a tidal wave. It was appropriately. It was of biblical proportion, and Metal Gear, for all its phenomenal moments, never had that impact. And that's not a L for Metal Gear to take whatsoever, but it is, I would say, definitive evidence that Kojima is in a totally better creative place right now with this series. I would just rather see this continue on.
Thor?
I think I'm on the same boat as Joey with like, I think Kojima went far above and beyond outside of like the Metal Gear series. I think like when it comes to like bringing it back and stuff, I think when he tried it with Metal Gear Rising was a good game, but from a story standpoint, not like specifically its story, but as a Metal Gear, like all the Metal Gear stories as a whole, I think like I didn't appreciate it being there because, of course, it was about Raiden, but it didn't really hint towards any of the shit that you did in the past games. Like there was barely any talks about like these big sacrifices that Snake did, like the effects that, like the knock-on effects that Big Boss and Liquid Snake did. Like there's none of that. Obviously, it was its own confined story. Like I still enjoyed it, but I think like if Kojima's idea of bringing Metal Gear Solid back was to continue on with Raiden, I think I would have got exhausted with the game series by the second or third game in that installment, you know? Which is why I think like as Joey said, like going outside of Metal Gear and like Kojima going with Death Stranding and like all this future projects with like the movies and stuff he's planning on doing, I think he's like much better creatively now, like without Metal Gear.
As far as a video game goes, no. As you said, as it's been previously stated, it's from 87 to 2026. Hold on, let me see. Let me make sure I get this right.
I'm pretty sure Phantom Pain came out in 2017 or 16. Yeah.
Let me see. Let me just look real quick.
We don't count Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah. So from 1987, when the historical game came out, a year before I was born, to 2015. I think that's good enough. Yeah. I think that is good enough because I left the military in 2013, so I was 25. So that would be 26. Yeah, 28 years. I think that's good enough. I think you told the story that you possibly could. If you were to do such games, I don't think it would hold the same weight or meaning. Even as an outsider looking in, looking through all the gameplays and everything, I think you did the best that you could. Like I said, I just hate the way they treated you at the end, Kojima, for that, because you gave them 30 years or more so of your life to create a historically great series. Like it's not just a great series just in its time frame. It is a Hall of Fame gaming series. Like you can't talk about the history of gaming. And that's the thing when it comes to Hall of Fames, the thing that when people make that claim, Hall of Fame to me is you have to talk about this thing in the history of the thing that you're talking about. Such as if you're talking about Hall of Fame players, if you cannot mention them in the history of the game, you're not deserving to be in the Hall of Fame. Like you can't mention NFL history without Randy Moss. You can't mention NBA history without Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant. And in the world of gaming, you can't mention gaming history without Metal Gear. So I would love to see other than that, I would still love for them to continue the series, but in a different form. I would love to see comic books. I would love to see anime. I would because like what's been previously said, there's plenty of characters you can do stories on. The boss, from what I've seen in Metal Gear, I know these other two have hated Snake Eater, but the boss was a compelling character to me. There's plenty of stuff that you can do on Solid Snake. Jesus. Quiet in Phantom Pain was an interesting character. Ocelot with the revolvers. Yeah, like you could Raiden, and I know Raiden is low hanging fruit, but you can still do so much with these characters because, as you said, as Negro Lantern said, there is so much lore that people don't know about. Like it is it is a mountain of lore that you could explore. So if me as an outside fan looking in wanted to see more of Metal Gear, no, there's nothing more that you can do with gaming. You've had 30 years, as much as whatever happened at the end, you told the story. Solid Snake rides off into the sunset on a different ending. He gets mentioned by his rivals now because that's how much popular he has. You can't get no bigger than that. There's no character in the stealth world other than Sam Fisher that can top Solid Snake. There's you can probably try to count the Thief character, but that's it's pretty much.
Oh no, you're way off on that. Oh man, it's the Green Ranger thing all over again. Jesus.
Oh my God.
No. Think about what you said and then consider Corvo.
From
Dishonored.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not putting him in the same lane as Solid Snake and Sam Fisher.
You mentioned the Thief. You clearly went into like mysticism.
The Thief doesn't have a lot,
but he did nonetheless. Though
I said you could possibly, but it's not really there.
See, to be fair, though, like
I mean, well, even if you're only sticking to like the what I assume you're trying to say, the more realistic, like even then, if you put Sam up against 47. 47's murdering Sam.
I'm not
even close.
I am not talking about battling. I am talking about as far as impact in the stealth game.
Yeah. What? Okay. I thought you were saying like literally capability.
Here we go. Why? Yeah. You trying to jump?
I just can't trust nothing you say now. I just can't trust nothing you say.
Dr. Doom can beat the Green Ranger. I am sorry that you were upset.
No, that's not what the problem was. It was that you said Dr. Doom had more power than the Green Ranger. Oh. That's where the problem was. But nonetheless, I was mistaken. I misinterpreted. You corrected me. We can continue.
Mm-hmm.
I think also like what do you call it?
I just can't trust nothing you say. I can't.
I think also it would matter about the Thief having mysticism, by the way, because we're seeing a Metal Gear like Big Boss and Snake like, oh, mysticism. I got a gun. That can happen. Like that's happened so much.
Psycho Man, like I have to admit though, like Psycho Mantis's mission in his game where you literally had to
mention the memory card. Oh God.
The controller port.
To switch the controller and the memory card.
Me.
Yeah, like because so in because like the mysticism was like big in Phantom Pain. Like Psycho Mantis as a child was like. They made it really hit home that Metal Gear Philanthropist would not have moved without Psycho Mantis, because Kid Psycho Mantis had to like telepathically connect with it and stuff. It was just an insane thing, and even then, Damaged Venom Snake is the one that like takes that out, and it's just like he did it with guns. You don't care that you got magic or telepathy. He got a gun.
So I just want to make sure, because it's about close to wrapping this up. I had to think about the dang Psycho Mantis. I got a gun. Bow. Goodbye.
Yeah. my man can like control show of his mind. I don't care. Like I got a Glock. Like,
wow. Goodbye. Yeah. One last thing. Your favorite feat in the Metal Gear series. Your favorite feat.
I've already mentioned mine.
And what you consider is the strongest feat in Metal Gear.
I think the strongest feats have always been hit off of Raiden doing some crazy shit. Like in Metal Gear Solid 4, where he stops that whole oil tanker, or not oil tanker.
No, you're talking about GW, when he stops GW. Ooh, that's my
the huge fuck off like ship, and he stops it with no arms. He just does it with his legs, because he doesn't have any arms at the time.
Did you hear me talking about this the other day?
No.
Oh my God. So I want to point out, like, it wasn't the ship but Raiden was holding that ship up so beastly that he pushes through the docks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everybody's like, well, it was the ship. No, Raiden was pushing through the docks.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, incredible.
Raiden's got the most crazy strength feats, but what I think the most impressive feat comes from what do you call it? Phantom Pain, sorry. Metal Gear Solid 4.
You better.
I better not.
I thought you were going to be funny about the pull-ups in 2. You do the pull-ups.
No, the most impressive feat I think is when you're fighting Liquid in like Liquid Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid 4, because you're an old man dying of old age. You're like all of your organs are super aged, so they're all feeling on you. You just walk through a human microwave, right? 2 of your muscles just exploded, and this guy at the end is taking super steroids and is like in prime health. And the only thing you got going for you is injecting you with super steroids at the time. But Solid Snake still pushes through all this crazy pain that he's going through, like his organs collapsing, his heart fucking failing on him. Goes through all that because he's on a mission. He's like Mike Tyson, there's only one thing. It's either I'm dying or this mission's getting done. And, he gets the mission done. And I just think like that feat overall is just insane.
Negro Lantern.
Yeah, as Thor pointed out, for me it would be the Raiden. Yeah, that's straight up the GW holding it up. Like Raiden didn't even give out, and then he still wanted to fight after that. If you remember, right? Remember?
Yeah, he walked into the ship.
He's like, Snake, I'll do the microwave. He's like, I'll do it. but excuse me. But no, like Raiden doesn't give out. The Doc gives out. That's incredible. That he held the force of GW, and then he doesn't buckle with no arms. And then after he's essentially been ran over, drowned, he comes right back and somehow with a jacket. And he's like, yo, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll go through the microwave for you, big guy. And what's crazy is he probably would have went through there with relatively no problem. And Snake was on that.
Was
whole,
it not like? Was it not
go
like
back
that
to your
thing,
family thing?
Was
no, Snake's whole thing was that he had to go back to his family.
Was it? I thought it was because like half the things that make up Raiden, is like robotics and stuff would have collapsed in on itself.
Well, we've seen that it's most likely Raiden would have survived it. It
isn't that they wouldn't survive it. I think like at the end of it, like he wouldn't be able to walk because like his legs would have given out from like the electronics and stuff.
Yeah, but we know that wouldn't have mattered now in the story because we saw what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered. Even in that story, we saw what happened. Like once they were trying to repair him, all he did was turn around and turn himself into a bigger cyborg. So regardless, in that moment, he could have went through the microwave. But Snake had to go out like an OG.
He's that guy.
I mean, other than that, I mean, as Thor said again, most of the best feats when talking about strength would have came from Raiden. I mean, again, Metal Gear Solid 4, not even GW level, but the gecko. When Raiden just starts spinning with the geckos. Yeah. Like, that's stupid. It shouldn't be a thing.
In Metal Gear Rising, where he's fighting Exodus and he breaks Exodus's sword arm off and starts fighting a fucking mech with its own sword
Metal
arm.
Gear straight up just boxing with it. Past that when he chunked Metal Gear Ray. If you're talking about right, like when he chunks it and he chunks it so high so fast that he beats it before it makes it to the arch of the throw. That's incredible. You threw what's not relative to a Megazord. I'll say more like a Gundam, right? You threw what's relative to a Gundam off of its feet from the ground, mind you, right? No extra assistance, and then you caught it on the arc. Like, so if you literally just toss a ball right now, before that ball makes it to the angle of your toss, he caught it.
Yeah, no, with strength feats is always going to be right on the top, which is why you can only talk about like outside and like breaking it down to like what you find as an impressive feat rather than just a strength feat, because it's always going to be Raiden did this or Raiden did that. Like, there's also like stuff in Metal Gear Solid 4 where you see Snake dodge a railgun, which is like I think it was like something shoot like faster than lightning, and like Snake's like an old man and all he got was like he felt it coming and he dodged it, and near like the thing was like so close to hitting him and he still managed to dodge it, which is insane. Or like just any of the vamp stuff that you do in Metal Gear Solid 4 as well. Like just insane.
I got you. Like I said,
The sword people will always be crazy, man. The sword people will always be crazy. Like, I don't care what the job. Even trying to create a comic book, I struggle with that. Like, who should I give a sword to? Who shouldn't I give a sword to? How should I go about the sword? I really want to steal one of those concepts from Star Wars. Like, it just, the swords are always fly. Those characters are always cool.
Because the sword is just a cool weapon overall, especially if you're able to handle it well. Now,
yeah, because it says a lot. Well, and not that it actually says a lot, because that's more eye of the beholder. You know what I mean? But like the way that we've been ostracized by movies is the best way to put that. You know, to perceive the warrior with the who wants to do it on his skills alone, not from his marksmanship. You know what I mean? Like the way we've been trained to perceive that, like, just puts the swords at such a high caliber when it's like, oh, everybody else has guns, but this guy, no, this guy has a lot of speed in the sword. So
that's the guy to watch out for.
Same thing with Gray Fox. You know, if you go back to, since we're talking about Metal Gear, you know, you go back to Gray Fox. I'm not a fan of Gray Fox, but when Olga put the Gray Fox suit on, I love that. Just, oh my God. Just, you know, I can fanboy over Metal Gear all day long.
That indeed. But that has been some of the admin series, episode number 2, Metal Gear Solid as a whole. Stay tuned next time. For next week is Thanksgiving week. So we'll be taking a break from that. This video will hold over and carry from there. We'll actually be doing another Let's Talk tomorrow. With Admin Static. All of the anime and manga, pretty much all of the manga is dropping tomorrow, so we'll be, me and Admin Static and a few others will be dropping in for that. Next week is the break, and then the week after next we'll be talking about Korra versus Storm and the end of Batman's Fear State. So for Admin Thor, Admin Negro Lantern, I am Admin Magic. This has been the Summon the Admin series, and take care. Unity through diversity. Take care, people.
Green Ranger's more powerful.
Whatever. We're not going there.